if you marry a Thai, then they come, for better or worse, with a free family, and that when you become part of that family, you become part of the support network, which should work to the benefit of everyone. Nonetheless, there are as many horror stories focused on guys getting mixed up with predatory partners who, working together with their relatives, conspire for hubby to eventually lose everything and be sent on his way with no recourse in law. Fortunately, I cannot tell one of those stories. My experience with the family ever the last 5 to 6 years has all been good. Of course, Pom's relatives asked the obvious initial question, is he rich? To which Pom said truthfully, he has a good job but he is not rich. We visit every year and they always treat us well. There is more pressure on Pom to provide than on me. It is expected because she works abroad that she will appear with money to spare and arrange something for them all to celebrate. Pom once told me how there exists prejudice against Thais who have gone abroad to work if they return with nothing but empty pockets. So one year, Pom paid for transport and accommodation for a minibus full of close relatives to visit another branch of the family in Pattaya. Another year later, she hired a floating platform on a local reservoir which had onboard entertainment and opportunities to fish and swim. Next year, another minibus is planned to visit her niece in Chiang Rai, who has just started university. Nothing is said, but it would be considered bad by Pom for me not to contribute. In between visits, Pom sends money home monthly to cover the care of her dad, who is 81 and not in the best of health. In addition, there are other occasional payments which babies are born on, or when a cousin moved to Phuket to work, money was required to help him settle, and of course the niece starting university was not without costs. Most of these contributions are not requested, but Pom has an integrated sense of etiquette which guides our payments. There are also occasional requests for small amounts, a few hundred baht from more distant relatives who have few or no close relatives around them to help. The family is the welfare hub and a bit like national insurance. Here in the UK, you are expected to pay in on the basis that one day you might need support. This is more important for Pom than for me because I doubt I will die in Thailand. Pom, though being younger than me, will more than likely return home one day, and that is the time she will or should get looked after should she need it. We have had a house built on land owned by Pom, a nice clean new house as her dad may need dialysis and a clean space will make this easier and more hygienic. I have enclosed a picture of this house built of recycled teak, 2 bedrooms, tiled bathroom, hot shower, aircon in one room, all including groundwork. £15,000. Soon after it was built, a storm hit the hometown, blowing off many of the tin roofs, including the roof of Pom's close relatives. While repairs were underway, they all sheltered in the new house, which thankfully held together. Last time we were out there, Pom arranged a house blessing and food for all relatives and friends who wanted to attend, about 100 people. I paid for the beer, and when I got the final bill, I did not feel anyone had taken advantage of free booze. I think the total cost was around 5,000 baht plus beer. This house also says to the whole village that Pom has gone abroad, is doing well and has a good husband. On this basis, she makes face and her star rises accordingly. Of course, if our marriage ended, the house stays with Pom. I would have no recourse in law. That is true for all marriages, and sadly some have come to a poor end because of this. When the marriage finishes, the husband has to shuffle off, probably back to his home country. Essentially, it is a gamble, and the same rule applies common to all gambles. Never gamble more than you can afford to lose. But so far, I have no complaints. At home, I get well looked after, and because times seem to thrive from day to day, there is not the endless negotiation that seems characteristic of many Western relationships, certainly those I was involved in before I met Pom. With Pom, I am expected to be leader, and this gives me certain privileges, where couples in the West might sit earnest discussion, I get executive rights. Of course, I have to make decisions consistent with Pom's expectations of what is right. That is why it is so important for anyone entering into a serious relationship with a traditionally minded Thai that you understand something of Thai culture, because it is this which governs their expectations of you as husband and of themselves as wife. At home, Pom takes care of domestic life, and I do not interfere with that. It always amuses me when friends come to eat. She will cook, serve the food, but rarely eat with us, preferring to eat later. If she really knows the person, for example, someone who attended our wedding in Thailand, this rule might bend. Another plus is that her family rarely drink alcohol, and although the younger boys have dabbed in substances, they seem to have grown out of that. A few years ago, one of them was rounded up by police following phone evidence for holding some Chinese substance, as it is typical in Thailand, whereas here he might have got probation. He got a long prison sentence. This was gradually whittled down following royal birthdays and whatnot until he was let out on tag after about 3 years. While he was in prison, he never got transferred away from the local lockup after he made himself indispensable working on the prison computer. While he was in jail, I would send him 1,000 baht a month, which he would spend on extra food and paper to write home. I hope your listeners will find these musings useful, but as I have said before, there is no magic formula, only luck. I could have been marrying into the family from hell, but so far, thank God, it is all turning out well. One day, if we do want to return to Thailand, as I am married to a Thai, then visa requirements are not so demanding. I have either got to show 400,000 baht on deposit or a minimum income of 40,000 baht a month, which is less than the UK state pension. Right, okay, so I'm going to give you a bit of information you probably haven't heard about here in Thailand. So a lot of guys, it's true to say you can't own land if you're a foreigner in Thailand. You can buy a condo, an apartment. And people will leave comments normally saying, you can buy land if you do it through a company, but then you've got to pump millions of dollars into the country. It's just so much hassle, okay? So a lot of guys, if they trust their Thai wife, what they'll do, they'll buy a house, but they'll put it in their girlfriend or wife's name, and sometimes that goes dreadfully wrong. But something a lot of people don't realize, you can actually draw up a contract with a lawyer that gives you the right to live in that house for 30 years as a foreigner. If that contract is filed with the land department, then it's legally binding. So in other words, if you married somebody or you were living with a Thai and you had that contract, and after say 3 to 5 years, she didn't want you there anymore, and there was a Thai guy in the background and she wanted to kick you out, legally she can't kick you out. You're entitled to live there for 30 years. And in the fact that you didn't want to live there and you came back to say Bangkok, she couldn't sell the property because technically, on paper, you have the right to live there for 30 years. She wouldn't be able to sell it without a signature from you. Most people don't know that. I have a girlfriend of 3 years, okay? I don't normally talk about it. I've recently talked about it. She's 47. She works in a hotel in a hospital in Sapan Kwai. She's just resigned because she's bought a house on a mortgage in Hua Hin. The mortgage is 11,500 baht. I'm going to be paying the mortgage, but I'm not putting a wad of cash into it, okay? I'm paying 21,000 baht rent here, so it makes sense to me to, I have more living space, 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, and I pay the mortgage, and it leaves her an asset. But I've protected myself. I've had that contract drawn up, and it will be filed with the land registry. Not because I think anything's going to happen. I wouldn't have made this step if I was suspicious. It's been 3 years. She doesn't have any family. She's never been married, never had any kids. She's got 2 sisters. It works very well between us. But, you've got to look at all the details. Don't just jump into things.